In the spring of 1917, the world was a place of shadows. The Great War was tearing through Europe, leaving a trail of grief that reached even the most remote corners of the continent. Portugal was no exception. Families were fractured, and a sense of deep uncertainty hung over every village. Yet in the quiet hills of Fátima, life seemed to follow the ancient rhythm of the seasons. In a small hamlet called Aljustrel, 3 children spent their days leading sheep through the rocky pastures of the Cova da Iria. Lucia dos Santos, the eldest at 10, was a girl of steady character and deep thought. Her cousins, 9-year-old Francisco and 7-year-old Jacinta, were her constant companions. They were simple children, largely unlettered, who knew more about the temperament of a lamb than the politics of the world. Their lives were defined by chores, play, and the rhythmic recitation of the rosary under the vast Portuguese sky. They had no idea that they were about to become the center of a story that would challenge the skepticism of an entire nation. May 13th. The sky was clear and the air was warm. As the children tended their sheep, a sudden flash of light startled them. Fearing a storm was approaching, they gathered their flock to head home. But then a second flash occurred, and above a small home oak tree, they saw a lady. She was clothed in white, more brilliant than the sun, and spoke softly.
Do not be afraid. I will do you no harm.
Where are you from?
I am from heaven.
What do you want of us?
Pray the rosary every day to obtain peace for the world and the end of the war.
When the children returned home, the secret was too heavy to carry. Jacinta, in her youthful excitement, told her mother. Soon the news rippled through the village like a stone cast into a still pond. The reactions were immediate and harsh. Lucia's mother, Maria Rosa, feared her daughter was lying or being deceived by a spirit. The local priest was wary. The secular authorities, who were deeply anti-religious at the time, saw this as a dangerous superstition that could incite the public. Over the next months, Our Lady appeared repeatedly, emphasizing the importance of daily prayer, devotion to God, and honoring the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Each time, the children received instructions for their own spiritual growth and warnings about the salvation of souls. During the July apparition, the Lady promised the children that she would work a miracle in October so that all might see and believe. By August, tension reached a breaking point. The district administrator, a man who viewed the apparitions as a threat to public order, kidnapped the children. He took them away to another town and placed them in a cell with common criminals. He threatened them with a gruesome death in a vat of boiling oil if they did not admit the story was a lie. Imagine the scene. 3 small children, separated from their parents, facing the weight of the law. Yet they refused to recant. They even led their fellow prisoners in the rosary. Their resolve was so absolute that the administrator eventually had no choice but to release them. As the months passed, the children shared the Lady's message of prayer and her call for the rosary, but they remained guarded about the deeper mysteries she had shown them. When pressed by family or officials, they would only say that they had been given a secret that could not yet be told. This secret, more specifically 3, wasn't revealed until decades later. The first 2 were revealed by Lucia in 1941. One was a harrowing vision of hell, and the other, a prophecy concerning the end of the Great War and the threat of a second, even more terrible conflict if the world did not change. The final secret, a symbolic vision of a bishop in white falling amidst the ruins of a city, was kept under seal in the Vatican until the year 2000. This combination of public testimony and private mystery only intensified the anticipation. All eyes were fixed on the date of October 13th, as word spread of the promise to work a miracle so that all might believe. Pilgrims and curious observers alike began their journey toward the Cova da Iria. The rain began to fall late on October 12th, a persistent, soaking downpour that turned the dusty fields of Fátima into a massive basin of mud. By the morning of the 13th, an estimated 70,000 people had arrived. They came on foot, in carts, and on donkeys. There were scientists, journalists from secular newspapers, and thousands of peasants who had traveled for days. What followed was a phenomenon that defied every law of nature known to those present. The thick gray clouds parted, revealing the sun as a pale silver disk. It did not hurt the eyes to look at it. Suddenly, the sun began to tremble. It started to rotate with incredible speed, like a wheel of fire, casting off great shafts of light. The landscape changed colors. Yellow, purple, blue, and red washed over the faces of the crowd and the white stones of the earth. The sun stopped for a moment, then resumed its frenzied dance even more vibrantly. Then came the most terrifying moment. The sun seemed to detach itself from the firmament and began to plunge toward the earth in a zigzag motion. The heat became intense. People fell to their knees in the mud, certain that the end of the world had arrived. Cries for mercy and confessions of faith rose from thousands of voices.
What is
And
this?
then, just as quickly as it had begun, the sun retreated back to its place in the sky. The air became calm. The most baffling detail for many was not just the movement of the sun, but the state of their surroundings. The people, who seconds before had been soaked to the bone and standing in deep mud, looked at their clothes. They were completely dry. The ground was no longer a marsh. It was parched. The news of the event exploded. Even the skeptical journalists who had come to mock the childish delusion found themselves writing accounts of the inexplicable. Avelino de Almeida, the editor of O Século, wrote a front-page story describing the extraordinary spectacle. The miracle was not a private vision. It was a collective experience witnessed by believers and skeptics alike. The aftermath of that day changed the lives of the three children forever. Francisco and Jacinta, as if their mission on Earth had been completed, passed away shortly after during the Spanish flu pandemic. They faced their illnesses with a maturity and peace that stunned those around them, always offering their sufferings for the peace they had been promised. Lucia entered a convent, living a long life of quiet service, eventually documenting the full details of the messages they received. The story of Fátima and the miracle of the sun remains a pillar of modern faith. It is a narrative that bridges the gap between the visible and the invisible. It reminds us that in a world often dominated by noise, conflict, and doubt, a message of peace was delivered through the voices of three simple children. The sun that danced over a muddy field in Portugal continues to shine as a symbol of hope. It challenges us to look beyond the immediate shadows of our time and consider the possibility of a light that no darkness can overcome. In the end, the miracle is not just a display of power in the sky. It was a call to the heart, a a reminder that the most profound truths are often revealed to the most humble, and that even in the midst of a world at war, a path to peace is always offered to those who are willing to listen.